There are tons of Longtail cargo bikes available now. Even individual brands offer multiple Longtail models. But the real question is, which one is the perfect fit for you? I've brought along 2 different models to show you today. Hey, I'm Tillman from the Radelbande. Over the next few weeks, our family will be taking the Yuba Boda Boda and the Spicy Curry for a thorough test ride. And we'll take a closer look at the similarities and differences and figure out which bike is the best fit for each individual rider. Yuba has lent us both the Boda Boda and the Spicy Curry behind me for this video, and they are also financially supporting the production of the video. They didn't, however, tell us what I or we should say or how exactly to phrase it. All thoughts and statements are mine and our own, and they're also not allowed to watch the video before it's officially released for you to see. We are entirely manufacturer neutral. Now let's dive right in. Yuba stands as one of the Longtail pioneers. Back in 2007, the Frenchman Benjamin Sarrazin first came up with the idea of building a Longtail. He was deeply inspired by the relaxed and carefree Californian lifestyle he experienced during his time there, which ultimately led him to develop and introduce the Mundo Lux to the market. And it remains one of the classics to this day in the Yuba program. However, in the following years, the Cargobike portfolio of Yuba has grown significantly. The Spicy Curry is a Longtail model designed with a mullet configuration. It includes a 26-inch wheel in the front for effortlessly rolling over obstacles, while the rear is equipped with a 20-inch wheel to maintain the lowest possible center of gravity. The Boda Boda, on the other hand, has 26-inch wheels both front and rear, and is also a good bit shorter than the Spicy Curry. So overall, it's more of a classic bicycle. The Spicy Curry, however, is especially fun because it's available in 4 very bold and eye-catching colors, while the Boda Boda comes in a rather subdued and serious shade of gray. What is that? Is it a mouse gray shade? Another similarity is the chain drive, with the Boda Boda here featuring the durable and highly robust link glide system, and the Spicy Curry, which is particularly distinctive for its specially engineered short derailleur. If we take a closer look down here at the details, so that the clearance is maintained despite the small rear wheel, ensuring there's no damage even if you accidentally bump into something along the way. For that, however, you are limited to a 9-speed drive and a somewhat narrower range. Let's see how that impacts the ride later. But unlike most other Longtail manufacturers, Yuba has designed the bikes in a way that removes the necessity for chain redirection to get past the kickstand somehow, so that the whole system runs a bit more efficiently. The kickstands are their own. They're really nice and wide, really nice and stable, just as you'd expect from a high-quality design. And the second advantage is that simply the operation of the kickstand is really smooth, making it easy to push the bike off the stand and also to lift it back on. You simply step on one of the feet, push the bike backward, and the units are already standing securely. Another interesting detail we can observe back here, because both the Boda Boda and the Spicy Curry always come pre-fitted with these spoke guards as a standard feature. Spoke guards or something along those lines. In any case, these are really thick plastic plates we're looking at here. They are very sturdy, they have the Boda Boda logo on them, but still provide access to the brakes, for example. Here with the Spicy Curry, it's also made from a similar material, but it's slightly slotted to ensure better airflow around the rear wheel, or something along those lines. In any case, you should definitely avoid letting kids ride barefoot on both of these bikes for their own safety and comfort. It's at least mentioned here. There are a few differences in the seating geometry. Both bikes are generally suitable in the standard configuration for people up to about 1 meter 90 tall, and you can be as short as about 1 meter 60 to ride a Yuba bike. The step-over height is slightly lower on the Boda Boda, whereas with the spicy curry, you'll need to stretch a bit more to get on comfortably and securely without difficulty. While the spicy curry features a two-piece seat post here, the Boda Boda uses a one-piece seat post. And what's also immediately noticeable in a direct side-by-side comparison is the difference in design and functionality. Looking here and then there, the seating position on the Boda Boda is more upright than the spicy curry. Spicy curry is distinctly more sporty when you compare it to the Boda Boda. Here, the overall reach is slightly shorter, primarily because I've positioned the stem significantly higher than it was initially set up. To achieve a slightly more upright seating position on the spicy curry, there's no adjustable stem installed whatsoever. Instead, a wider, more mountain bike-style handlebar is used here, whereas it's also quite wide here, but still slightly more raised and bent back in comparison. Quite trekking bike-like. However, all components can easily be swapped on both bikes since they're based on standard measurements, which I find really practical and also essential for my needs. Because at 6 feet 5 inches, I need to install a longer seat post on both bikes to be able to ride them. Also identical is the mounting for a front rack. And that now brings us a little closer to the cargo aspect of these two specific bicycles. And that's going to get pretty exciting, I'll tell you. For this area up front, Yuba offers 3 different options. First off, you can completely skip the front rack, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing. The second option is this stuff rack here. It features a 33 by 45 centimeter loading surface, is equipped with relatively high side walls, and comes with this kind of net for added functionality. Here is also an accessory that allows you to easily cover the whole thing and can remain on the bike at all times. So, a pretty practical and versatile use is possible here, which is convenient and adaptable for various situations, but naturally you're steering relatively close over it. But there's still more than enough space available, even for larger backpacks that might extend a little beyond it. And the second option is this one, the smaller base rack. It's not quite as large, but of course it can still be used effectively on its own to attach something like a larger gear roll or similar items with ease and convenience. For this, there are 2 more possibilities to further extend its range of applications. First, with a simple plate that can be securely fastened here with screws, or with the bag you just saw earlier. That's the grab-and-go bag, super practical and really handy. But there's also a bit of stuff in it now. On one hand, it's suitable because of its size for the stuff rack system. On the other hand, it can be secured here with this tab at the bottom. I'm not sure if you're able to see that clearly right now. Just slide it on here. Then lock it with this snap closure. Then tighten it securely here. You can actually fit quite a lot inside. It's fully waterproof and keeps everything completely dry. There's an absolutely incredible amount of space here, complete with these handy side pockets for small items, and the Yuba logo is featured prominently all over, of course. Up front, you can also strap things down securely or however you prefer, and it's incredibly easy to carry with this convenient, practical, and thoughtfully designed handle right here. So it's a fantastic shopping bag. Meaning you don't need to place any other bags inside, but you can simply carry this one with you wherever you go. That's a pretty smart idea. And with 15 or 25 kilos, these front racks are built to handle quite a significant load. But of course, that's nothing compared to these rear racks on these 2 bikes here. The rear rack on the Spicy Curry is truly very deep and exceptionally long in its overall design, whereas the one on the Boda Boda is noticeably higher and significantly shorter when you compare the 2. But on both bikes, adults can also be transported comfortably and securely with the appropriate set of accessories. With this accessory that both bikes have here, it's mainly children who will be happy. These seat cushions here are called soft spots, and it's such a fitting name because they're wonderfully soft on one side, and on the other, they're thoughtfully designed for the people who matter the most to you in your everyday life. They're easy to wipe clean and maintain, they don't soak up water when it rains, and they can be secured onto the bike relatively quickly using these straps you see here at the bottom. They can be attached and removed, but they typically stay on once you've loaded them up since they're sturdy enough to keep things securely in place there. And as you can see here, they come in various sizes to fit all of Yuba's bike models perfectly. both for the short and the long rear rack. And then there's this part here, and they're called, attention Yuba name, monkey bars, which are ideal for extra storage options. But they're intended for human children. Unless you're using the bikes at the zoo, for example, they're already included in the base price at Spicy Curry Family, just like these large and sturdy bamboo boards down here, as well as the soft spots included too. The monkey bars function as bottle holder mounts, as grips for holding onto and for securing items, and naturally they also provide a certain level of protection. And these monkey bars also function seamlessly with the Boda Boda, just slightly shorter, which is effortlessly made possible here. And here you can see yet another configuration option available, as these inner struts can be easily removed and replaced with protectors like these, making it possible to mount a standard child seat. Because with the inner supports, it's simply not possible, and then this entire structure, this complete bar, can be disassembled relatively easily, so you simply press, right where they are here, on these pegs. Then pull them out on both sides, and the entire monkey bar is dismantled, and you can really mount large and wide things here. And in case you've been wondering what this bag here is actually for, I'll give you the answer right now. This here is essentially just a massive net, enabling me to use this monkey bar as a spacious bag to conveniently toss items into, like this accessory right now, for example. Honestly, you've got to admit that Yuba offers an absolutely huge selection of accessories, and I would even say that it's the largest accessory range of all Longtail cargo bike manufacturers. They just have an incredible number of ideas, from large lockable boxes for the rear, lockable boxes for the front, large weather covers for kids, and bags in all shapes, colors, sizes, and designs, along with unique add-ons. What's special is also that a lot of the accessories here for Yuba bikes are designed to be super practical, versatile, and user-friendly, making them perfect for everyday use. Is also compatible with all Yuba bikes. We've already seen quite a few things now. Another thing, for example, is this. Surf's Up. What's this all about? Again, a cool name, right? Shall we go ahead and open this up here? I didn't mount it because, honestly, I'm no surfer, and I'm just not that cool, you know? There are way cooler people who would definitely mount it here and genuinely need it for sure. These are brackets that get mounted onto the bike right here, designed specifically for carrying large surfboards or SUP boards along the side. Then there are these cool and, I have to say, really well-made straps here. So there's truly something for everyone, whether you're cool surfer dudes and girls, or if you're looking to transport kids with it, everything's covered. Or if you're moving goods with it, or even your furry friends. This here is, as always, the super cool Woof Top. Yuba specifically designed this system to safely and comfortably carry small to medium-sized dogs on the rear rack of all their available bicycle models. Here, in the shorter version, you can extend it further out to ensure it fits perfectly onto both the Mundo and the Spicy Curry models without any issues. There's quite a bit here. On the side, there are these little pockets. The dog can also be easily leashed using these attachments, so nothing happens. Depending on the dog's size and specific needs, he might need to be carried up here. This part can be detached, giving the dog more room and added comfort. And also some air and light. South. This isn't fully secured right now because he's not that heavy and he'll just fly right out after I filmed him. But this is a pretty cool accessory and it feels genuinely well made, just like everything else we've encountered as accessories for the Yuba bikes up to now. But now the question is, how do these bikes handle when loaded? Here, of course, is our usual load, the cameras. Up front, it's empty in terms of load, meaning we don't have a perfectly even weight distribution, but it feels as if two kids are sitting on the back, adding a bit of extra weight there, when my two employees, the sacks, are on there. And now we'll start with the first point. The acceleration check from 0 to 25. We're here in the highest support level, now in the lowest gear. And let's get started. Maybe skipped the first few gears and 25 kilometers per hour. Yeah, we've got a highly efficient chain drive system here. The lowest gear is also just perfect for accelerating on flat terrain. We'll soon see how it performs on the hill. The gear changes are very quick, very crisp, but also very loud at the same time. But now, let's see how it handles the Jerusalem hill. That's our standard testing gradient here. I'm calibrated too. 200 watts and striving to maintain a consistent cadence of roughly 80 revolutions per minute. Pretty efficient indeed. We can begin here. 23.7 kilometers per hour. That's working out quite well. Now I need to shift down 18.9, 18.7, 19 kilometers per hour. So really quite quick up the hill here. Yes, a highly efficient drive indeed, and there were still plenty of gears remaining to easily handle steeper inclines. And it's very efficient. Powerful engine, of course. Here, over such an edge. The bike handles it smoothly. We've got the large front wheel, which really helps, and it's still fully suspended for smooth handling. So in that sense, it's quite comfortable right now. When you throw the bike into a curve a bit, you can feel it pulling slightly, but it's manageable. But the frame is actually very stiff. The bike doesn't flex at all, which is quite interesting to experience firsthand. It's quite challenging to achieve with such a long bike, with such a long tail, especially in terms of stability. In terms of the seating position, as I mentioned earlier, I'm sitting noticeably lower, or perhaps even too low, on the standard seat post that's included with the bike. The handlebar is very wide, very much like a mountain bike. If I were sitting higher, it would feel very sporty, perhaps even slightly too sporty for my liking. So if you're taller, you'd also need to adjust the handlebar a bit higher up to make it fit comfortably. If I let go of the handlebar with this load distribution, it begins to oscillate quite rapidly and noticeably. Yet, it's not noticeable while riding. The bike stays steady and stable even with one hand off. Here, over gravel and sandy patches, the bike handles well due to the wide handlebars. Steers well, definitely. Here again, the long wheelbase is noticeable when steering and in turns. The bike feels completely secure. It offers excellent grip with Schwalbe tires. Over such terrain, so it's fully suitable for touring. Now, of course, it's exciting to see how it performs when starting uphill with the microshift derailleur. Switch to the lowest gear, full power assistance, and off we go. Yes, at first you need to exert a bit of effort, but even on this steep incline, you can ride the bike in a very controlled and steady way without encountering any issues whatsoever. The range of the cassette in the back is well suited for steeper climbs and works perfectly when starting out on uphill sections. This cassette and also the 9-speed drivetrain. It's a really solid compromise for this bike and will likely handle just about any situation that most riders might encounter out there. So get off and push, you'll have to stretch your leg out a little bit there. The bike is actually quite easy to push along, you just have to be a bit cautious with the footrests back here. The footboards are very wide, the bike is easy to push, it has a relatively low center of gravity, thanks to the chain drive. It's naturally also easy to ride without the motor, not quite as fast, but it works very well too. For tight hairpin turns, the bike is also suitable. The steering angle is overall quite large. Because of the bike having such a long wheelbase, you can't get through the tightest turns. Next up, cobblestone paths. And that's amazing. I'm rolling over here really relaxed. I don't feel any increased vibrations on the saddle or the handlebars, but it rolls very smoothly. What you're hearing now are the unsprung parts, so you can hear the stand a bit kind of rattling around. Here in the front of the box, it's naturally rattling a bit right now. Only with the stand, I'd really wish it were a bit better dampened, especially when folded up. And you really have to say length runs. So it's rolling really well straight ahead, not nervous at all or anything like that. And with those kinds of bumps, it naturally has the advantage that the wheelbase is relatively long, so higher humps and bumps are somewhat softened and absorbed more smoothly and comfortably. Now we're doing the braking test. We accelerate to 25 kilometers per hour and brake at the second line. A good 4 meters braking distance from 25 kilometers per hour. That's acceptable for such a heavy, large Longtail. The bike was really easy to control. The brakes didn't feel quite as sharp or responsive as I'm typically used to with Magura brakes. But it's really controllable. The lever travel feels very comfortable. The modulation works extremely well. Yes, that was my impression. Of the spicy curry. And the Boda Boda is fully loaded too. A bit different from the spicy curry, but here as well. 35 kilograms loaded up on the back. Here we also have the highest support level. Again, the smallest gear, which you can't see here right now. You have to do that by feel at least. But here we're starting again now. Oh, a very, very exciting difference. First of all, it reaches speed just as quickly as the previous one did. But the gear shifts with the Link Glide are much smoother. They're not quite as fast in this case though. So when you pull the trigger, it's not as quick as With the micro shift system, but even under load, you can shift super smoothly and quietly with the Link Glide. What stands out here, even in noisier environments like the city, for instance, is that the motor becomes even less audible overall. But let's see now. How it fares at the Jerusalemsburg. So here we can now see our cadence and the power output. 200 watts is what we're aiming to reach or maintain steadily, with about 80 revolutions per minute. We're at 23.4 kilometers per hour base speed. Shift down a bit, 21 kilometers per hour. 20 kilometers per hour, 19, 18.9, 18.8. Yeah, it's essentially identical to the spicy curry, but naturally it's the same motor and roughly the same total weight overall. But what immediately stands out is the agility. So the Boda Boda is much more of a bicycle. Or rather, that's not accurate, it's not much more of a bicycle, but it just feels more normal. With the shorter wheelbase, it's quite relaxed. There's no need for adjustment. Cornering feels practically identical to the way it does on a standard trekking bike. Edges it handles well too. Now, when I lean into the curve, yeah, you can feel the higher center of gravity. It feels a bit wobblier in cornering. When riding straight, compared to the spicy curry, you can also tell it's a slightly shorter bike. If I let go here, it actually ends up feeling a bit more stable compared to the spicy curry. There's absolutely no frame movement at all. The Boda Boda's frame stays completely rock solid and steady throughout. And what you can also see now from the side view is that I'm sitting much more upright than on the spicy curry. But also too low. I've now set the standard seat post to its highest position, and it's still just too low. If I had a higher seat post that fits me perfectly, I'd naturally sit a whole lot more sporty again. But I think for people who prefer a more upright sitting position, the Boda Boda is better suited. Gravel check here once more. How well does it handle this? Yeah, this bike just feels a lot more like your standard everyday bicycle experience. It turns much more sharply, and you can confidently navigate tighter curves even at higher speeds. However, the load at the back is more noticeable compared to the spicy curry. And now let's see if the wider gear range can really make a significant difference when it comes to climbing uphill or handling steeper inclines. Of course, as always, lowest gear, maximum assistance, and off we go. Yes, it's definitely a bit easier and more comfortable to ride when compared to the spicy curry with its micro-shift gearing system. We simply have a smallest gear. In the highest gear, there's a cadence of 0.0. 53, 51 revolutions per minute. What's also noticeable is that it doesn't rattle as much here. Alright, once off the bike, that's easier with the Boda Boda than with the spicy curry. The bike isn't quite as easy to keep upright when it's fully loaded, primarily because of that higher center of gravity. You have to counteract a bit more when the bike starts tipping to one side or another, applying a bit of force to maintain its balance. But here as well. Riding without support is very straightforward. Here, thanks to the more bicycle-like feel and the short wheelbase, it might even feel slightly easier compared to the spicy curry. Steering. The Boda Boda is just as smooth as the spicy curry, but its shorter wheelbase gives it a tighter turning radius overall. The Boda Boda handles cobblestone surfaces just as well as the spicy curry. It's definitely noticeable that we've got the shorter wheelbase here once more, and that's what results in slightly more movement on both the saddle and the handlebars overall. Still, the overall ride is very comfortable. The Yuba saddle on both models is genuinely pretty comfy to sit on. It has a good shape. And here with these edges, yes, there's definitely more movement for the person on the saddle. Now let's take a look. Here as well, how it handles braking. We're approaching 25 kilometers per hour and also applying firm brakes with the Boda Boda. That felt quite good. Very controllable braking distance, also around 4 to 5 meters. Here, the brakes feel just a little less sharp than on some other bikes. With the Magura brake, it could potentially be a matter of tweaking the setup or selecting the appropriate type of pads, especially the brake pads themselves. But despite that, it's a fully controllable experience, and there's absolutely nothing to criticize or complain about here in any way whatsoever. So the Boda Boda rides and handles very much like a regular bicycle, while the spicy curry is unmistakably designed as a cargo bike. But now let's see how we've liked the bikes after a few weeks. We've been riding these two bikes in everyday life and have noticed both similarities and differences between them. And with both bikes, there were points that we really liked, but also points that we didn't like as much. If you're interested in the individual reviews of both bikes, then I recommend checking out the links in the video description below. And now we'll go over 3 points that we really liked about both bikes and 3 points we didn't like as much. Starting with those, let's dive right into them and take a closer look. The first point is the chain drive. Both bikes and all Yuba models are solely equipped with a chain drive, which is efficient and provides a sporty riding feel. But it also demands a greater level of maintenance compared to a belt drive and a hub gear, and is more susceptible to wear and tear, especially when you ride the bikes under heavy loads in winter, particularly with these robust mid-drive motors adding additional strain and pressure. The second point is the battery size. Both bikes come equipped with a 500 watt-hour battery, which in our daily use provided a range of around 35 to 40 kilometers in flat, urban areas when riding in turbo mode. However, if you live in more hilly areas and frequently carry heavy loads, the range can shrink quite a bit, and in those situations, these 500 watt-hours might just not be enough to fully meet your needs. And the third point, fundamentally, both bikes ride very stable, but in certain load and speed situations, there's a noticeable movement in the handlebars, leading to a slight wobble or instability. If you keep both hands firmly on the handlebars, it's not a problem at all. However, in everyday use, I'd always make sure to distribute the load evenly between the rear and front racks to maintain stability and proper balance. But there are 3 key points that make these bikes truly great, and here's the first one. The frame construction and the craftsmanship are truly top-notch. We have an excellent coating, a truly fantastic color right here. The frame joints are very well designed, even with the quite complex frame construction, and that results in both bikes delivering a remarkably steadfast and incredibly reliable ride quality overall. There's no shaking in the frame, no twisting at all. Everything is genuinely super stable and solidly constructed. The bikes perform exactly as you'd anticipate, steadily, reliably, and with consistent precision, even when handling increased weight or heavier loads. The second point is the modern technology, because with the renovation of both frames, Yuba stayed true to the core principles and successfully incorporated the most up-to-date technical specifications. We have through axles at the rear of the frame, modern suspension forks with through axles here at the bottom. We also have air suspension forks to adjust the sag very precisely, and even the smart system from Bosch. This ensures the entire system is truly future-proof, providing you with complete access to all the advanced connectivity features that the smart system is designed to offer. And the third point we really like. Hi, this is working on Holiday Tillman. The point I mentioned is also relevant, but not as important as the one I'm about to say, because the Yuba bikes are the only Longtail cargo bikes I know of with a payload capacity of 200 kilograms. The maximum total weight is determined by calculating the bike's base weight into account, plus accessories, plus the rider on the saddle, plus passengers, plus luggage, and that brings us to a permissible total weight for the two bikes of 232 and 234 kilograms respectively in total. And that's more than any other Longtail bike available as far as I'm aware. It's truly exceptional and sets a completely new standard in its class. And that brings us to the final question. Who are these bikes best suited for? Who is this bike for, and who is this bike for? The Boda Boda is the perfect choice for anyone seeking a standard e-bike that exceeds standard e-bike capabilities. With its impressive load capacity and the extended rear rack, it can handle cargo effortlessly, yet it's equally smooth and easy to ride without any added weight. It doesn't stand out negatively, it doesn't feel bulky or awkward, but instead it's very agile and nimble. But if you ever need to carry something around, the Boda Boda can easily manage that, and you achieve both a sporty and a fairly upright seating position, which makes it highly versatile and adaptable. The Spicy Curry is the perfect choice for you when you're looking to transport a significant amount of items with ease. If, for instance, you want or need to regularly transport 3 kids around the neighborhood. And if you also particularly appreciate this point about the low center of gravity, because it's really significantly lower, the Spicy Curry continues to ride smoothly even with 2 kids on the back. The whole bike feels a lot more solid than it does with the Boda Boda, and the Spicy Curry is also just the right bike when it comes to covering longer straight distances. It's not quite as agile as the Boda Boda, but it's still perfectly manageable and easy to handle in everyday situations. But what do you think now about the Yuba bikes? And maybe not just necessarily these two models, but also about all the others in the Yuba portfolio. Do you perhaps own one yourself and have gathered some experience with it? Then feel free to share your thoughts below, down in the comments. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video and if you want to be around when the Radelbande heads out on tour next time. Then subscribe to the channel. Bye. See you.